Are you racing Ironman Texas on the 27th of April this year? If so, this is the video for you because I, Coach Stephen Moody, an Ironman U certified coach and an award-winning coach from Ireland, is going to go through the course in terms of hints, tips you need to know for the swim, bike, run, and key training sessions. This is based on my athlete's experience and on my also personal experience of racing Texas last year, which is a mega race. So hopefully, if you sit down, enjoy the video, take some notes, and we'll get you as prepared as possible for an epic day out on the 27th of April. Okay, so whoops. So in terms of what we're going to cover is, as I said, I'm going to talk about the swim course and tips for it, the bike course, run course, again, tips and hints that will get you through the day as seamlessly as possible. I'm also going to talk a little bit about key training sessions that will help you on in your preparation for the day, and you should kick off to make sure you're absolutely bulletproof for the course in the woodlands. I'll also talk about some other non-training prep that you should be working on as well in the background, logistics, packing, nutrition, etc. And then just to wrap it up at the end, before I have a little bit of a giveaway, which will even help you even be better prepared for the day in Texas. We're going to talk about some key dates you need to tie down as part of your logistics. Okay, so as I said, my name is Coach Steve or Stephen Moody from Dublin, Ireland. 20 years plus coaching, Ironman U certified coach, Training Peaks certified coach, International Triathlon Union level 2 coach. I've also raced 12 Ironman, including Texas in 2023. So know my stuff. I've also had lots of athletes successfully complete Texas and also qualified for world champs, finished their first Ironman, etc., etc. Enough about me. What you're really interested in is Texas. So let's get right into it. Knowing your enemy for the course that it is. Texas is a great course. It's actually quite a beginner-friendly course, but there's certain nuances you need to know about it. So we'll start with the swim. It is a expect a wetsuit swim. It's in a the river estuary area, so the water temperature doesn't really vary too much. The water can be a bit murky in terms of actually visibility, so don't expect to be seeing an awful lot of wildlife. It is also, as part of the Ironman series, it is a seated and rolling start to the swim. So what does this mean? As in, when you arrive on race day, you will sort of put yourself into corrals or groups of expected swim finish time. So if you expect to be under an hour for the swim, fair play to you, there'll be a specific corral for you. And what will happen is Ironman will let in swimmers by 3 to 5 at a time, as in their actual volunteers who will hold you at the pen, and the beep will go, they'll put up the hands, and then 3 to 5 people, depending on how many lanes they have, will go in time. So it's not a mass start, but it does mean that you take time to get into the water. Don't worry about your actual, whether this is going to impact on your time if you put yourself in a slower corral, as in if you're only going to swim in 90 minutes, 100 minutes, whatever it is, that swim and put yourself in the correct corral. Your chip time only starts when you cross the mat, so it doesn't affect your chances of meeting cutoffs. The other items about the swim itself, as I said, do seed yourself correctly. As I said, if you are a 90-minute, 100-meter swimmer, put yourself in the correct corral. There's no benefit to actually going too early, because you'll get in the way of the stronger swimmers and they'll swim over you, and you'll set yourself up for a poor race experience. In this course, as I said, there's not an awful lot of, it's literally straight lines, so you can't really go too far wrong. So I advise people to stick close to the buoys. There'll be these big yellow buoys, and what we'll look for is sighting points in the swimming. When we talk about sighting is when you swim every 6 to 9 strokes, depending on your pattern, you pop your head up and you're looking for something to make sure that you're swimming in a straight line. So if you are aiming, if I remember correctly, there's a big house at the end of around here, which I was using as a sighting point. Every time I popped my head up, if I saw that house was still in front of me, it meant I was going in a straight line. So but in that sense, stick tight to the buoys. Don't kind of drift. You can end up drifting into these little sort of alcoves and all the rest, and you can lose time. Um, what I found when I was swimming is it was fine on the way down because it was dark when you're starting, but the sun was coming up around this area. So when I was swimming back here, the sun was quite actually bright and it was quite blind. You couldn't actually see anything really. So highly recommend you use tinted goggles, so that will help you with the glare from the sun when it does come up. Because I actually ended up swimming a little bit in here because I actually couldn't see anything. But again, also sticking tight to the buoys will help you with that, navigate that issue, because you go, look, I'm right beside the buoys. It's okay. In terms of sighting points, what I would recommend are, as I said, there's kind of houses down here. So I was aiming for the houses, and I said, once you turn around, you'll head back up. I was aiming for, I think there was a sign here which I was aiming for, but I said the sun was that awkward that I actually got a little bit lost, that hence the goggles. But once you turn into here, the main canal, it's absolutely fine. It's narrow. It actually is not hugely deep as well, so don't panic on that. But it's easy. You just need to swim in a straight line. There is a bit of a kind of pond or something where they have like these old sort of kind of what are they, swans you could ride in, the mechanical swans. What I did is, again, as I also got I actually overshot here and I swam into that area, so I lost some time. So again, don't forget, whilst you're in a very simple straight line, sight again to make sure you don't overshoot. You will come out here and there are wetsuit strippers. We'll talk about that in the transition area when I come in the next slide. But all in all, it's a nice enough swim. The water temperature is fine. The visibility isn't great. And as I said, the main thing is I found was the sun on the way up here was a bit blinding. Bit of advice for you guys: when you do get in the water, draft as much as possible. Drafting is illegal on the bike, as in you're going to get, but it's 100% legal in the swim. That means when you're swimming close to someone in front of you and you're letting them do a bit of work. This is again, if you think about when you swim in the pool, if you're close behind them, it's easier because you're kind of swimming on their bubbles and they're breaking the surface tension of the water. So draft as much as possible as a key. You're really want to get through the swim with enough energy to be ready to go on that bike. And a little bit of advice for when you're coming out of the water: when you start hearing the crowds here and the volunteers shouting your name, kick a little bit more than you would before, because what happens is that helps the blood flow go from circulation get to your legs, because you've really been kind of working your upper body. And if you haven't got all the blood flow going to your legs, if you hop up, that's where people get quite dizzy and all the rest. So again, a little tip is if you kick a little bit more, you get a bit more blood flow to the legs, and it lessens that kind of jelly, that kind of wooziness. And again, also don't jump up, slowly lift yourself up. Okay. So, right, we've done the swim, 3.8K. We're swimming, we feel like an absolute champ. We're chomping to go on the bike. Got to get through transition. With the transition, it's a single transition. So like when you only have to, there's a T1 equals T2, which makes it a lot easier logistically wise, which is great. There are a benefit for T1, and it's not something to have in every single Ironman race, but there's wetsuit strippers. Not as risky as it sounds, but essentially when you hop out and you come up the steps, there are volunteers that will actually help you out of your wetsuit, and it's completely legal. So what I find is when you get up, start getting your top off, and then if you lie down the ground, they'll pull down your wetsuit and off the legs, which saves you a good few minutes. And then you just throw the wetsuit over your shoulder, and you run up. You're on the kind of path, and you run around, and you're up to where you've laid out your transition bags. Now, Ironman has, this is not like your normal, if this is your first Ironman or 70.3, this will be new to you. Ironman have a specific set of transition bags where you have everything that you need to go from your swim to the bike in your blue bag, and everything you need to go from your run in your red bag. And now it might sound a little bit confusing, but I have a little video here that actually shows you how it works, what you need to put in the bags. But for the purposes of Texas, essentially what you'll do is you'll get stripped out of the wetsuit, you'll run up to around the up and around a corner, and they have all the bags lined out, and all the bags are lined out in, was it number? So and so as you're running along, a tip is shout out your number. I am 822, and the volunteers will help you find your bag. A lot of people do some very grandiose decorating and putting all tape on the rest of it, but everyone starts doing that, and it's actually it nullifies it. So when you're setting up your transition the day before, when you're actually dropping off your bags, and I'll talk about this in the logistics later on, just make sure you have a vague idea where your bag is, as in like my blue bag is beside that tree or that bench, and you know when you're coming out of it, that's where you run. Start shouting to the volunteers and they'll help you find your bag. They're just resting on the ground in American Ironman races. In the Europeans, we usually have rack systems, but with the numbers here, literally your bag will be on the ground. You run to the change tent, you drop in your wetsuit, you take out your bike helmet, your bike shoes, and if you're having to change a kit, then you do that in the changing tent. But in terms of and then you come out the changing tent, then you run to where your bike is racked, pick the bike up, and out to transition out to the bike area. This is something that you will have checked out the day before when you're walking the route of the actual Ironman flow. I highly recommend that you take notes about where your bike is racked, where you're putting your red bag, what the flow is from swim to bike bag, transition tent to bike out. And again, on the way back, when you're doing your recce as well, recommend that you walk it the other way around. The bike ends here, I'd run to here, that's where I rack my bike. This is where I will head to transition tent, etc. So do watch the transition bags. That will explain and give you hints on what you need to put in there, and some other kind of cool tips as you go through. By the way, now I'm hoping this is useful. I'm hoping that you go, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about, and I've earned your subscription. I do lots of kind of cool Ironman training content. I do other race reviews. So please, if you're enjoying it, if you're finding it in any way useful, just smash that subscribe button. That's the supply to ask. I'm going to go back on and give you all the info you need to have a great day on the 27th. The bike course. Okay, so as I said, you'll have picked up your bike. You will have headed out to the bike out, and you're onto the bike course. Texas is renowned for being a flat bike course, so therefore times usually are fast, but there's some nuances you want to remember. It is a 2-loop course, so you kind of get out from the main area, and then you're on the motorway, as we would call it, or highway as Americans will call it, and the road surface is generally very good. But I do urge caution, as in a couple of athletes fell foul of what we call these road gaps, as in there's little sort of cracks in the highway that their wheels went into and they came off. So yes, the road surface is good. Yes, it's flat, but you've got to be switched on, as in a lot of people sort of drifted off a little bit and went, oh, I just have to be aero the entire time. And they're the ones that kind of ended up with really unfortunate crashes. So always be 100% aware, especially when you're taking on board food. You need to be kind of where the wheel is anything in front of you. But otherwise, it is a flat and fast course. The other caveat to that, when we were in 2023, it was windy. So what does that mean? When we were heading out and down on our first lap this way, we were into a fairly decent headwind, and it was slowing us down. For example, I was averaging 28 kilometers per hour. And then when I swung around here, I was 38, 39 because I had the tailwind. So do be aware of that. In one way, it balances it out. You have to work a little bit out here if it is windy. Get aero, make yourself small, reduce that frontal resistance. And then when you're coming down this way, just enjoy it, because you'll have a fast split on this one. You'll return up again, a little bit of battling the wind. And again, it's nice if the wind is coming in that direction for you, because it meant that the fourth element of my race day bike split was a push all the way home. Aid stations, they're approximately every 15 miles on the course. What you get, new water, Gatorade, Red Bull, Morton gels, bars, fruits, etc. So this fairly well stocked. I do recommend that you train with some of these things, and also as part of your training, we'll talk about later on, that you practice about how you're taking this fuel on board, your nutrition strategy. Again, I'll talk about that in a future slide. But there's lots of stuff going on at the aid stations. Again, with Ironman aid stations, this is another area where you really have to be very situationally aware and have great communication, because if you think about it, there's going to be around 2,000 plus cyclists, and when you come to an aid station, people will want to be changing bottles, will want to be grabbing gels, will want to be grabbing food. So when you're coming in, typically an Ironman aid station, they mirror one another. So at the start, there's a litter zone. So if you're getting rid of stuff, only throw the litter there, or else if you get caught littering on course, it's a DQ. And then typically there's a water with a hand out bottles and water will fit into a standard bottle cage. And then they'll have the Gatorade, Red Bull, gel. And then the other side, they'll do it again. So if you miss a water bottle, don't panic. You've got a chance to get it at the end. Likewise, you've got a chance to chuck your litter at the end of that aid station. Some aid station etiquette, which is key if you want to avoid getting into a bit of a crash with one of your fellow racers. Communicate you're going in. Everyone's down aero, everyone's down and looking at the bike computers. Shout out, I'm going into the aid station, I'm going into the aid station, pulling in right. And then at least they're aware. And then when you're looking for a volunteer, make eye contact, go, I want your bottle, point at them, let them know, and then they'll aim for you, because you don't want them to sort of be half looking and then you kind of grab the bottle and it knocks off. Talk to the volunteer, grab it, say thank you. These guys are volunteers. And then again, communicate, I'm coming out, and all the rest. So communication, eye contact with volunteers, with your fellow racers will keep you out of trouble. Also be aware around aid stations where people drop stuff. So always be, well, yes, looking at the volunteer, be aware that where your wheel is going, because people have dropped bottles. There might be banana skins literally on the you don't want to end up coming in too hot and ended up crashing. Slow it down, smooth, calm, controlled, communicate, and make sure you get in, you get what you want, you swap in bottles, you chuck in the trash, and you're back off again. All right. So again, they're just things, and again, do try to practice these in terms of your training. And it might be as simple as you're setting up a bit of a table with your friends, and they're acting as volunteers, and you go, look, this is how it's going to do. You understand what speed you need to go to slow down to grab a bottle, rather than try to grab it at 30k an hour, and that means it bounces out. Because you will need to fuel on course. As I said, the aid stations are probably every 15 miles. So there's one at 15, 30, 45, 60, 75. And again, you're on that loop again, so you're repeating the aid stations. But again, do work out your nutrition strategy, when you need to pick up things, take as much as you can, etc. with you. But you will need to check in an aid station, because you can't, it's not a great strategy to carry all your food for an Ironman, because that's a lot of weight. Besides, you need to get your money's worth out of Ironman. Okay, so as I said, the loop is essentially out, up, down, up, down. And again, when you're coming off, you have to go through there's a couple of not twisty turns, but you're going through residential areas, so you have to be a bit more conscious of your speed. But you've done your 112 bike or 180k, and you're heading into transition 2. Again, as I said, feeling like a champ. So the transition 2, again, it's the same place, and you will have set this up as well, and you will have walked this as part of your course recce, or you should have. But another cool part, and this is why I love Texas, you've got bike catchers. As in most Ironman races in Europe, you actually have to run in and actually just rack your bike. Where with Texas, they you kind of feel like a VIP, because you come in and you run in, and you shout out their number, and they'll grab your bike, and they will rack your bike for you. So you just have to drop off your bike, and then you turn down, and then you head towards where you've left your blue bag. Sorry, your red bag. Your red bag is your bike to run. So you don't need to rack your bike. Thank you, Texas volunteers. make sure you say thank you. Again, the specific transition rules apply. As I said, you do have to have all your run kit in this red bag, and you have to put your stuff into when you're taking off your bike helmet, you have to put that in the red bag, and that makes it easy for you to pick up at the end. Transition bags, again, I go through the video, have a look at that for the red bag. But essentially, when you come in, the bike catcher takes your bag, you peel off left, you run down into the change tent, you'll have grabbed your red bag en route. You'll sit down, change into your run kit, compose yourself, get the sunscreen on, etc., etc. Top tip for T2, get in and get out. Nothing good happens in T2. If you sit there and you let your legs cramp up and you start thinking about your life choices, it's going to be a bad day. Just get in, get out, get the runners on, get your cap on, just start moving. Even you get my guys to have a go bag, as in, so listen, just get the runners on, get the bike helmet off, get your shades on, and start running. When the go bag has got anything, bits and pieces you have, like a Morton gel or some salt tablets, whatever you want, start moving, keep moving, because it said that if you sit down, your legs cramp up, it all starts going like, oh, marathon, that seems an awful long way. It is, but you've got to keep moving. First step is the hardest. Get on it, get out. The run course, oh, sorry, again, another polite request. If you're enjoying this, just hit thumbs up, as in it helps me let other people know that the video is useful, and hopefully I'm helping you, and you have a great day. Okay, run course. The run course in Texas, it's 3 loops. It's very flat. It goes through the woodlands. There's, again, as I said, it's your first Ironman, it might even be your first marathon, it's very daunting heading out and go like, wow, 42K, 26 miles. So what I tell people is to break it into four chunks mentally, as in for the first 10K or 6 mile. It's all about just conserving energy. Again, you feel like a champ. You've nailed a 3.8K swim. You've smashed that 112 mile bike, and you go, yes, and my legs I feel great, as in something in that Red Bull, as in those Morton gels, they're working. Hold back, because if you go out too hard, it will be a long, long day, and you'll end up walking, limping home. So I say, just literally, just to force yourself to slow down. So, wow, I feel like I could do this all day. You want to feel like that. Second and third, was it 10K? Then you start pushing into kind of your race pace, which you would have practiced a little in your long runs. I'll talk about that in a second. And for the final third loop or the last 10K, it just sucks. You have to dig in very, very deeply, and you have to find your reason to keep going. You have to, look for friends in the crowd, and you have to talk very seriously to yourself, as in to just keep moving. I looked at that finish line. I'm visualizing that finish line. I'm doing this to inspire my kids. I'm doing this in memory of a loved one I've lost. Whatever you need to do to get your mind overcoming the pain in your legs, do it, and you'll get there. Top tip, do not miss any aid stations, even if it's just taking a bit of water, swishing around your mouth or splashing on your head, depending on the temperature. It was very hot when we got on the run, so core temperature, cooling things down is key. Make sure you're taking on board fuel in terms of like Morton gels, etc. Coke or Red Bull can give you a bit of a kick for the last 2 loops. That's what I found. But do not miss an aid station. Also think about it. Think about how much money you've spent with Ironman. It's time to get money back. So those Morton gels, what was it, like $7, $8 a pop? Sure, you take as many as you can. That's my take on it. This is what you're going to get at the aid stations: water, Gatorade, Red Bull, cola. As I said, our caffeine gels for the Morton ones. Again, I use them towards the end of it. Just I'm looking for that final kick that's going to keep me tipping over. Pretzels, fruit, broth. It was there. I never went near it, but I don't like broth on a good day. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it when my body's in it, or was it under a lot of duress. By the way, the volunteers were absolutely superb, and they were great fun. They were very encouraging, really positive, feed off that energy. Pretzels and chips, get a bit of salt as well. Again, you will be sweating out a lot of electrolytes. Here's where your aid stations are. As I said, it's around every mile, so take advantage. Pace yourself as per above. Just make sure you're aware of what you're trying to, what pace is good, what bad, if you're going too hot, you're going too cold, and just make sure you will have known this from your long runs. You'll know this from your bricks off your long bikes. The crowds are amazing. Hippie Hollow, which is, it's called, I think that's around here. I can't remember exactly. There's most of the places, most of the run is very well populated. You go through a little village, you go through, and there's this, and you go through an estate area, and there's lots of people there. There's a little bit when you're actually through the woodlands where it's actually a bit quiet, but that's unusual. But there's lots of people there. They're really into it. Fair play to Americans. They do know how to support. So feed off that energy. You will need it on the day. Have your finish lines and moves ready. Do not do the classic, oh yeah, what time did I do? And that's your finish line picture. Sod that. You get your time from get over the finish line, press your stop button. But remember, this is your finish line moment. This is what you've worked so many hard months for. You want to be smiling, thumbs up, dabbing, airplane, whatever you want. But it's your picture that's going to go on top of the wall, and you're probably going to replace, pictures of kids, confirmation, marriage, wedding photographs. Yeah, well, you can't probably admit that, but maybe in your office you will. But make it a good picture. You deserve this. Okay. So that's the course. And with that in mind, I'm going to talk a little bit about some key training sessions I will be telling my guys who are training for Texas to do. And based on the course specifics. Okay. So swimming wise, if you can, a few weeks out from the actual race, swim in a river in your wetsuit. Again, safety is paramount here, as in just don't turn up to your local river and start swimming in it, as in if you don't know what's going on, or swim in the ocean, but get into your wetsuit. And remember, this is always going to feel very different to swimming in the pool, in your jammers, etc. So you need some time in your wetsuit, ideally with your training buddies, your club mates, where you can practice on sighting, drafting, and keeping one another safe. So get some open water swim practice in. That is key. The bike, it's, as I said, it's a flat course. It's the road surface is good. So what you really need to be doing is a lot of time on the aero bars, as in down, being aerodynamic and holding that position for as long as possible. Because the more aerodynamic you are, especially if it is a windy day, the better your return on your power to speed will be. I know it is a flat course, but I also recommend doing some hill repeats or some overgeared work, because if you have good strength in your legs from hill work, that translates into raw power and speed on the day. So don't, just because it's a flat course, do not shy away from any hill work. You can actually improve your time by having a bit of overgeared work targeting your kind of uber pumper muscles. In the last few weeks, and you should be doing this during build, practice your nutrition and your hydration strategies. We'll talk about how, what, when, why, a bit of that later on. But when you know how you're going to feel, when you're going to feel, and how you're going to transport it, you need to practice that in bike setup, where the food is going to go. And again, also to that point previous, if you just want to practice a little aid station, bottle grab, bottle transfer, etc. Key. You don't want to start learning and making mistakes on the day. Testing equipment. Are you using a parameter? Are you using a disc wheel for the first time? You do not turn up on day and just crack that bad boy out. You've got to have done some long bikes on it. You've got to make sure that the numbers are working, that they're within your zones, and you're getting the right feedback. Nail down as many potential mechanical problems in advance. Run. Okay, so 3 to 4 weeks out, you should be hitting a milestone distance on your long run, 28 to 30K, 18 to 20 miles. And on that, you should be practicing your nutrition and your hydration. Are you going to be taking Morton gels? If you are, how are you going to transport them? And also, same again, in terms of run, I would recommend you do a brick, not a huge brick, off one of your long bikes, because you will have got your run fitness from your previous long run and your midweek running of around 7 to 8K or 3 to 5 miles off like a 110, 112 mile bike. just to get used to that transition from going from cycling to your run, using all your run muscles. Also, as I said, practice your fueling for the long runs. How's that going to work? Okay. I've talked a little bit about race day nutrition. As I said, it is a topic in itself, and I can't go into it in huge detail because I don't want this video to be like like an hour and a half long. I want it to be short and sweet. So I will include the link to the video where I talk about how to prepare your race day strategy for Ironman distance, which talks about how many calories you need, what would I recommend taking, how do you transport that, how do you actually remind yourself to keep eating and not sort of was it fall behind calorie intake. Spoiler alert, it's on your Garmin. So that video is in the comments below if you want to check it out. And we'll continue on a little bit and talk about the race day equipment. What do you need? Okay, swim wise, yes, it will be a wetsuit swim. I'd be very surprised if not. Goggles I've talked about, make sure you get the tinted goggles because of the sun that comes up. Swim hat. Ironman will give you a swim hat itself, which you have to wear, but I recommend bringing a second swim hat so you can put it on first, and then you can hook your goggles in and put the Ironman swim hat on. It gives you two benefits. One, it keeps your head warm. Two, it also stops your goggles getting knocked off if someone accidentally bumps into you in the swim. Tri-suit, or what are you going to wear under your wetsuit? A lot of people will, if it's your first time, there's the dilemma, do I wear a tri-suit? Do I wear kind of go to a change into cycling gear or running gear, etc.? There's pros and cons, essentially comfort versus speed. I talk about that. There's a video in the links below where you can make that decision yourself. Spoiler alert, beginners, if you're not going for time, make it as comfortable as possible. Aim for a full change and you'll need to pack accordingly. Neck guard and body glide. This is something that, again, because we haven't done it's an early season race, and not an awful lot of people have done an awful lot of swimming in the wetsuit. A lot of people suffer from this wetsuit rash, and it's quite painful. So I personally recommend using one of these wetsuit neck protectors, and put it on around your neck, and it means you don't have to worry about your neck being red raw for the race or even from practice swims. Body glide is another option, and also it can be put it on your arms and your legs. It makes the wetsuit come off quicker and help those wetsuit strippers as much as possible. Bike, TT or road bike. As I said, it's a flat, fast course. If you have a TT bike, definitely use it. If you only have a road bike, consider getting clip-on aero bars, because that will actually help you be more aero for longer, and again, avoid that wind and just have a better, faster bike split. Helmet, shades, cycle shoes, and socks. One of my top tips for all my guys doing it, whether they're aiming for Kona or they're aiming for their first time, chain socks. Dry your feet and have socks for both run and swim, run and bike. It's because otherwise you'll end up with blisters, and there's something slightly comforting about putting on new dry socks. So I'm a big fan of socks. Race belt, again, where to put your number on. Hydration, nutrition, rain or wind jacket. I always say that, yes, you can look at previous weather patterns and predicted weather patterns, but some days weather just throws you a complete curveball. If that's the case, just make sure you have alternatives. I had a rain jacket in my blue bag for Texas. Didn't need to use it, but that's where it just left there. But I had better to be looking at it rather than looking for it on the day. Runners, I'm a big fan of Loctite laces. They what you call it, essentially turn your runners into a pair of kind of slip-on shoes and hold it in place. It saves you around 30-40 seconds in transition. Really useful for sprint and Olympic, also useful at Ironman. But again, actually, if you're interested to see how much it can save you in time, again, video in the comments. Hat, visor, shades, socks. Yes, a big fan. The nutrition, this is a funny one. As I said, I have mentioned this before. Yes, people can run and you can have your Morton gels. There's an aid station every mile. That's not really going to slow you down. As I said, just take advantage of what Ironman's offering. And as I said, there's lots of stuff on offer. It means you have to carry less. It means you get your money's worth. Competition. See who can eat their body weight in Morton gels and actually make back the $700 entry fee. Sorry, Ironman. Post-race, change of clothing, way of contacting family and friends, etc. and compression gear. They're my recommendations. Other things, preparing travel on your checklist. When you come up to taper, as in your time when you're actually sort of 2 weeks out, where you're actually dropping down your training load and allow your body to recover, start looking at some of this stuff, or make sure you've got all the other bits and pieces in place now. Check your logistics, how are you getting there, where you're staying, flight, hotel. If you're flying in, how are you getting from the airport to your accommodation? You're renting a car. Have you got that sorted? Get that sorted now. It is only 9 weeks away, I think. You don't want to sort of panic and realize there's no accommodation closer to the detail. Plan out your arrival time and key events. When do you need to register? When can you not register? I talk a little bit about that at the end, in terms of, because it's on a Saturday, there's a little bit more restriction in terms of, it's not like the other standard Ironman races, which are on Sunday. Book your bike service. If most of your club mates are going to do Texas, don't wait until the day before, the day after your long bike, to book in your service in your local bike store, because you'll realize that everyone's done that. Book it in now. As I said, do your final long bike and then get it serviced. Make sure you minimize any risk of mechanicals on the day. Work out what you're going to pack, how you're going to plan. We'll talk about that now. Okay, so Ironman, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things you need to get together. So you'll need a separate list for your swim, your bike, and your run. And other things, your ID, you'll need your quick reference code. You'll need a national, if you're USAT, I think you need to bring that. We have to, for Europeans, we need our national federation proof that we're signed up. Chargers for your DA2, chargers for your Garmin. Don't forget these things, as in it'll just stress you. Training gear, you're going to have some shakeout sessions beforehand. Make sure you got some comfortable gear for runs, for your bike gear, etc. Oh man, sounds like a lot to remember. Don't worry, got you covered. There's a video in the links below that will talk you through that. And also will give you a handy to download checklist, so you can make sure you don't forget anything. And also recommend AirTags. If you are bringing your bike on a plane, stick an AirTag on it. It actually saved me losing my bike in Florida, because I could actually tell the airline guy that he said, no, it didn't make the plane. I said, yes, it did. The bike box looks like it's just literally over there, over that other side of the wall. And it goes, oh, okay, it is. AirTags, they're your friend. Okay, key times and dates. I'm going to talk through some stuff here. Now, they haven't released the official schedule at the time of the video making, but this is based on what we did in 2023. So on the Wednesday, opened up registration. Top tip, get it done early, and then you can relax and do your course recce, so that you can just get yourself sorted. There was a swim practice the day before, and some people did it, some people didn't, because they said that the water could be brackish, and do you want to risk the chance of actually getting sick the day before the race? We actually did it, it was fine. But your call. And again, all that will do, it means you can actually get in, see those sighting points. It'll be a little bit different because the swim practice is later than the actual race start, so you won't have the sun rising and the sun issue, but it'll show you what the water colors, and kind of the sighting points you need to look at. The bike and bag check-in, you need to do that the day before. I think that was from 2 p.m. till 7 p.m. on the day. The race itself will transition for our race, again, opened at 5. We were rolling age group start. As I said, that seeded swim, we'll head in at 6:40, and it was just go time. So they're the key things that you need to know for Texas. I'm also offering a chance for a Zoom Q&A questionnaire, in terms of there's any questions you have about your training, the race course, etc. If you would like to join that webinar, which I will do on the 14th of April, excuse me, at 6 p.m. GMT, if you just send me an email to info@smartenduranceSolutions.com. That's info@smartenduranceSolutions.com. I'll add you to the mail list and you can pop on. We typically have 40 to 50 people. We get asked questions, all sorts of questions. And what about the portaloos? What's the best runner I should use, etc., etc. So I like to do this to kind of help people just alleviate any concerns, etc. So folks, that's essentially excuse me, my top tips for Texas. You've got a few months of tough training to go yet, and I hope your training is on track. But if you did, again, if you haven't subscribed, please do. If you have, like the video, and do join that webinar on the 14th, as it'll be great to talk to people, and I'll give you the benefit of my experience, my coaching experience, etc. And I hope you have an absolute smashing race in Texas.